The village of Rafti sits high in the Italian mountains, cold and completely isolated. Late one stormy night, 14-year-old Vittorio was hurrying home through a desolate, empty street. He suddenly froze in his tracks. The cold air grew heavy, and a sudden lightning flash revealed something towering in the dark. It was a monstrosity stitched together from rotting flesh, with copper wires weaving in and out of its limbs. Vittorio ran blind with terror until he reached the heavy wooden doors of his Uncle Aaron's home, where the young boy had been sent to live after suddenly losing his parents. The monster tracked Vittorio with a calculated focus, waiting on that specific road for a target it seemed to know well. 2 months earlier, Vittorio's parents died. The local authorities wrote it off as a tragic accident and quickly closed the case. But Vittorio had seen the bodies. He saw the severe acid burns marking their skin, and the sharp copper wires violently embedded deep into their flesh. At the time, underground science was obsessed with galvanism. This was the belief that you could use electrical currents to violently contract the muscles of a corpse, temporarily reviving dead tissue. Because Vittorio's parents were known for their unorthodox laboratory work, the town assumed the traumatized boy was merely confusing real-life science with the sensational plot of Mary Shelley's new novel. That novel, Frankenstein, told the story of a scientist whose experiments resulted in a murderous creature. The town believed Vittorio was simply projecting this fiction onto his own grief. Vittorio was being hunted by a physical threat, yet he was trapped in a town completely convinced his impending murder was only a ghost story. The stalking intensified. One night, Vittorio awoke to a freezing draft and saw the monstrosity standing right outside his window, holding the severed heads of his parents. The next morning, the heads were gone, replaced by the mutilated corpses of small animals lined up meticulously outside his bedroom door. These animals bore the exact same physical signatures Vittorio had seen on his parents. Their limbs were crudely stitched together, their fur singed by electrical scorch marks, and thin copper wires snaked through their bodies. Vittorio dragged his uncle and the neighbors to see the grisly display, but by the time they arrived, the animals were gone. He was left screaming at an empty hallway. The creature was systematically destroying his credibility. By forcing him to look unstable, it ensured the villagers would ignore his pleas when it finally moved in for the kill. Vittorio retreated completely, refusing to leave the house. But his Uncle Aaron, a former surgeon, finally broke the silence. He sat the boy down and confirmed that he was not losing his mind. Aaron revealed that Vittorio's parents had moved their work underground to bypass medical ethics, obsessively trying to resurrect a body stitched together from stolen parts. Their final experiment had a fatal flaw. To complete the patchwork corpse, they used the head of a man who had burned to death in agonizing pain during one of their previous botched tests. The furious spirit of that burn victim anchored itself to the newly electrified body. The moment it awoke, it slaughtered its creators. The creature was systematically erasing every person linked to the experiment, hunting Vittorio as the final living remnant of his parents' work. As Aaron finished his confession, a violent storm hammered the house. The lights failed instantly, and a suffocating stench of rotting meat poured into the room. Aaron struck a match. As the candle flared to life, its dim glow revealed the towering silhouette of the monster standing silently right behind him. The creature's massive hand clamped around Aaron's throat, lifting him off the floor. A blinding surge of electricity instantly fired through the wiring in its arm and directly into Aaron's body. In seconds, the creation effortlessly killed the only person left in the world trying to protect Vittorio. Drawn by the screams, neighbors forced their way inside. They found Vittorio weeping on the floor next to Aaron. His uncle's corpse was blackened, electrocuted, and wrapped tightly in copper wire. The physical evidence was undeniable. The scorch marks and the metal bindings proved to the village that Vittorio had been telling the absolute truth from day one. The town immediately exiled the boy. He was put on a train and sent to a boarding school in France, as far away from the valley as possible. But his departure provided no relief to Rafti. In the months and years that followed, hunters continued to find charred, wire-wrapped bodies abandoned in the deep woods. Victorio's parents had attempted to conquer death. In doing so, they birthed an immortal tragedy that wiped out their own family and poisoned the land around them forever.